peace to all of the divine primordial deities. Now, if you are not privy to this information, I suggest just keep it scrolling. I am not here for the dead, I am only here for the awakened. If it resonate, let it marinate. If it don't apply, let it fly. Now let's get deep. This is a part 2 to the last video I just recently did on the Garden of Eden in Xylanthia. Let's get into it. Xylanthia is the mother planet, which is your Sirius X, where the X chromosome comes from. That is the divine feminine, the matriarch, which is none other than Mother Earth. Everything in this dimension has 3 sides. We are in a 3-dimensional world. We are God, the generator, operator, and the destroyer, which is soul, spirit, and body. That is the original Trinity. The sun has also 3 sides: soul, spirit, and body. We are in a tri-solar system, which means we originally had 3 suns. And when you go back into ancient history, you will see we never had a moon. The moon is fairly new. Now, if you look at the moon, you will see that it has a lot of craters in it. And I always wondered what really happened. But the more I grow spiritually and I become more spiritually awakened, I start to notice things that I didn't really pay much attention to, but now I do. Now, throughout a lot of the research that I have came across, we had 3 suns, and one of our spiritual suns got blew up. I believe the moon was once a sun. This is my theory. Follow me. The sun is none other than a ball of consciousness, and each sun play a role in our spiritual ascension. And they activate our DNA and emit certain light and frequencies to help us to evolve spiritually. I believe that Xylanthia was invaded. And the beings that invaded Xylanthia tried to terraform our planet by blowing up one of our suns, terraforming our atmosphere to confuse us on where we are in the galaxy, when the whole time we've been on Sirius the entire time, living in oblivion, up under a strong illusion. Our sun got blew up, which is the 3rd sun, and now is our moon. And those craters are giving I got blew up before, which turned it into a dwarf star. It still has power, but not as much as it had before when it was emitting light. Follow me. If our 3rd sun would have never got blown up, we would have had daylight all the time, because when one sun go down, the other one would still be up, which means we will be stronger. We'll get more ether. We'll get more energy and frequencies that will come from the sun. We'll be able to hold a charge. Our carbon-12 would have been activated and turned to carbon-7. But all of this was done by design to hinder our process and prolong our ascension by the invaders that invaded Xylanthia. Let's continue. Keep in mind, this is my theory. Horus represents the 2 suns. Horus is you. As above, so it is below. The original hieroglyphs was written in the stars. So what take place in the stars, take place in you, chosen one. Because we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. So what happens up there, happens in you. Mythology is historical facts with high principles. The story of Horus and Set battle talks about how Set gouged out Horus' left eye. Horus' left eye is the moon, which is his spiritual eye. That was gouged out, and he was thrown into darkness and ignorance because he no longer had his light, which light represents consciousness. That was his sun that was then turned into a moon. This is mythology. Keep that in mind. But is historical facts with high principles. That's us. That moon was a spiritual sun, and it was deliberately blew up to hinder us and keep us stagnant. But see, Thoth, which is thought, which is supreme wisdom, came along and restored Horus' left eye by helping him gain access to his inner light to overcome the darkness and the ignorance by obtaining supreme wisdom. That's our story. See, what they fail to realize by taking out our third son didn't really stop anything. Because what they need to know is it is through our struggle that Christ is born, which is the true Heru. Now, I bet you like, well, what do this got to do with Xylanthia? Follow me. Sirius A and Sirius B orbits Sirius C, which is their center of gravity. This configuration is what causes Xylanthia to have no night. Now, keep this in mind what I said earlier. If our third sun wouldn't have never got blown up, we would have had daylight all the time. Now, there is a twilight zone that circles Xylanthia, causing an aurora borealis of glorious colors. Keep in mind, Xylanthia is all around us and it is above us. We are those who came from the sky. We are the extraterrestrial beings. We are the sky gods. Now, after Eve, which is Isis, was removed out of the Garden of Eden, which is the divine feminine, because remember, we were here first. It was after the fall we brought the male into existence. When she was removed out of the garden, there were swords that the Bible talk about, which is symbolic of fire, that was placed in front of Eden, so that way she couldn't get back in, which is us. The aurora borealis is described as a fire in the sky. Follow me, because I'm taking you somewhere. Flaming swords that the Bible talk about symbolizes the light of divine protection, judgment, and a power that represents a barrier between the spiritual and the physical world. Flames was used to guard a sacred place, which is your Eden, which is your Xylanthia. Now, the tree of knowledge of good and evil that was in the garden connects the heavens and the underworlds. And in the Norse mythology, they call the tree Yggdrasil. Hopefully I'm saying that right. That connects the worlds. The tree branches reaches into the heavens, while its roots extend to the underworld, symbolizing a connection between the cosmic levels, which could be interpreted as the North Pole being a point of access to various realms. And this is why they don't want us at the North Pole, because it is a gateway. And the South Pole is an exit. This is just my theory. Follow me. The Bible speaks about the heavens. It doesn't actually say exactly where it's at, but it describes it being somewhere in the north. Zion, from the Bible's perspective, is symbolic of a spiritual paradise that is in the north. When the sun goes through these solar flares and shoots off these charged particles and it charges up our atmosphere, this phenomenon creates a thinning between the worlds. When the aurora borealis take place, different phenomena happen at that time. Now keep in mind that Xylanthia is surrounded by this aurora borealis, which is described as a fire in the sky. Now look at this, I couldn't find a flat earth to show this, so just deal with it, okay? You see where the aurora borealis is at. This is where Xylanthia, the most sacred part of it, was protected. You can't see it, but it is there. It's right above us. Whenever we have these northern lights, you might can catch it. If you have the spiritual eye, you will see the city in the sky. Now, even though we occupy the same space, we are separated by frequency, energy, and vibration. This is why we cannot see the city. And this is why they don't want us going to the North Pole, because it is a gateway to the city in the sky. I even heard people talk about it, that it floats around. And sometimes it go back to being stationary. But this is where it is at. It's surrounded by the aurora borealis. I will be back with a part 3.